From the New Arts and Media Studios in Milwaukee, I'm Charles Purcell. This is The Log. I don't know about you, I'm still a little bit hungover from the Martin Luther King holiday on Monday. And by hungover, I mean the effects of my disgust and depression are still lingering. Such a sad day this year. I mean, it's every year that people will cherry pick and manipulate and take King's words out of context and hold him up to justify their own bigoted positions. I mean, talk about irony, the ultimate of all ironies. And so that happens every year, but this year it's just that much more galling. Some outlets, Sunday talk shows, even Colbert the other night, was very good at finding video of Dr. King speaking himself in his own voice about the filibuster, about the Senate, about how we need to get things done. And you don't have to cherry pick, you don't have to take things out of context to know for a fact where Dr. King would be on the issues of today regarding voting rights, regarding the rules of the Senate, regarding what you and I spoke about the other day, the role of the so-called white moderate and how gravely disappointed he was in the likes of Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. And to take it beyond that particular issue, again, you have to take Dr. King out of context to hide the fact that he was an avowed socialist, that he was an anti-capitalist, he was anti-war. He was a lefty. He was on our side in every respect. And yet conservatives, right-wingers, will claim him as their own. Youngkin of Virginia, the governor, did it just in the last couple of days. Standing on the shoulders of Martin Luther King. The nerve. Standing on Dr. King's shoulders to declare so proudly that his racist legislation in Virginia is based on Dr. King's call that we are judged by the content of our character, not the color of our skin. And he uses that to decimate any honest teaching of race in America. And there again, you can go back. It's not like Dr. King lived in revolutionary times. This was the 50s and 60s. There were television cameras. And there's miles of footage of MLK saying exactly what he thinks about race in education. That was the clip that I hadn't seen before. I happened to see it on Colbert. I thought, oh, good for you. Good for your producers and writers for digging that one up. Yeah, let's see, that was, let me think. That was Monday night. Yeah. Go online and check out Monday night's Colbert opening monologue. His writers and producers, as I say, they did an excellent job. I was really impressed. Okay. So yeah, if you can, check out Monday night's Colbert monologue. Got some really good stuff in it. Anyway. And did I already mention? I think I did. Or did I? Kyrsten Sinema had the nerve to give a shout out to Martin Luther King and his legacy. Just days after just 100% contradicting both the spirit and the letter of what he believed regarding voting rights and the filibuster. Boy, I'm not sure about, sometimes you can't tell if someone's more ignorant or just has nerves of steel to look right into a camera or to post right on social media for the whole world to see. Something so galling. Yeah, people who are that wrong, just 100% wrong, oftentimes it's hard to tell. Are you that cynical? Are you that jaded? Are you that willing to just lie to everybody? Or are you really that stupid? It's got to be one or the other. And Kyrsten Sinema has become one of those people. I don't have those thoughts much about Joe Manchin anymore. I think he really is just a very bad man. I mean, when at the end of Build Back Better, he wouldn't even support his own bill. He basically wrote the bill, offered it to the president, offered it to the Democrats. And at the end of the day, everybody figured, well, at the very least, we could pass his proposal. He's got it in writing. He gave it to the White House in writing. This is what I will accept. These are the elements of the bill I'll accept. This is the top price I will accept. So we all thought, Lucy and the football, we all thought, well, we got that. He's got it in writing. At the end of the day, he wouldn't even accept his own bill. So it was all a game. He was never going to go for it, which a lot of us pretty much figured, and why the few progressives refused to decouple the infrastructure bill from the Build Back Better. But anyway, that's old news. On Monday, speaking of Monday, I promised you that we would finish our conversation, or at least continue our conversation, on what we do next about all of this, because it is just very disheartening. As I speak, I'm not sure what's happened between now and the time you're hearing this, but as I speak, they're talking on the Senate floor. They're actually having debate on the voting rights bills, and they're sort of splitting their time. Some are talking about the bills themselves, the reasons that it's important that we pass these voting rights initiatives. Others are talking about Senate policy, Senate rules, and the carve-out for the filibuster and all that. So it's very good. It's very interesting. On really big, important issues, there's nothing more riveting than C-SPAN. I recommend it. If something big is happening in the world, and this is something very big. So anyway, that's happening. So I don't know at this point where they're going to go. They're still up in the air. They've had to maneuver the rules just to get this far, just to even talk on the Senate floor. So as far as bringing it to a vote, whether they bring the rule of the filibuster up for a vote or the legislation itself, that's still being hammered out. And I don't know. I have zero optimism, but, well, I shouldn't say zero. Let's say 0.0001. I guess I'll leave that 1/1,000,000th percentage of a chance that something could happen. I don't know. I can't see it, but anyway. So where do we go from here, assuming that nothing happens? Let's go on that assumption, because I think it's a pretty safe assumption. We were talking the other day about Joe, and I said during the early primaries right on through to today, I think the same thing of Joe. He means well. I guess he's doing his best, but he's failed. Let's just be honest about it. He's failed. You can point to a couple of accomplishments. I mean, the COVID relief was important. Okay. The infrastructure bill took a big bow for that. Jobs have been created, but still hundreds of thousands of people are either underemployed or left the job market, or they've got a job, but they're not there half the time because of COVID or childcare. I mean, it's, that's still a mess. So you can't really, I don't know how you point to job creation as a big bragging point. I don't think anybody's really feeling that. Stock market, we've known for a long time that's not a gauge of success for the country. Just the opposite in most cases. So what do you point to? I saw James Carville is making the rounds. I saw him over the weekend, and people are still talking about how does he put it? You got to gloat and promote is what he says. Gloat about all the big accomplishments, the ones I just mentioned, and the other big one was he kind of laughably mentions child poverty. Well, I shouldn't take that back. You don't want to laugh about child poverty. But he thinks that's something they should brag about. Well, yeah, they did lift millions of children out of poverty with a temporary child tax credit that they couldn't extend or make permanent. That's gone. As of January 1st, it's over. There is no child tax credit. So those millions of children that were lifted out of poverty just, boom, fell right back in. That's something you want to brag about, James Carville? He's an idiot. He's, these damn centrist Clinton Democrats, just go away. Just go away. And that really brings me to what I want to say today. as much as I've been resisting this, I've been hinting at it for a while, Joe and the Democrats just have to go away. They're done. They have failed. They've just failed. They try hard. And when I say the Democrats, what I really mean is the Democratic leadership. I often hear some really great Democrats. I mean, they're really, when they get a chance to shine, and we see them on national television, Jamie Raskin in the impeachment trial, Sheldon Whitehouse did an amazing job in the Comey Barrett confirmation hearing for SCOTUS. When he laid out, it was like a masterclass seminar in radical right-wing funding. I mean, we're talking real money, millions and millions and millions of dollars from the Bradley Foundation here in Milwaukee and from others, funneled into grooming and creating a right-wing judiciary. So, yeah, Sheldon Whitehouse did a great job. I just mentioned I was watching the Senate floor earlier, and Chris Van Hollen of Maryland, Jeff Merkley of Oregon. There's some good Democrats. I'm not going to paint the whole party. But what I'm saying now is the Democratic leadership has to just relinquish power, and they have to announce it loudly. This is what I'm suggesting. If you want to win, Democrats, this is my advice to you. If you want to win the midterms, you have to announce right now, today, that Joe Biden will not be running for re-election. He has to get up and say it out loud. He has to promise the American people, nope, I've decided I'm not going to run. It is time to hand power over to a new generation. Now, that's a tough thing to ask. It'd be easier if there was an election coming up, but we're still 3 years away from the next presidential election, because it would be much more satisfying just to say, well, let's fire him. I suppose. It's kind of like we just ended the regular season of the National Football League. And the NFL is famous for their what they call Bloody Monday. It's the Monday following the last Sunday of the regular season, where there's always a half a dozen coaches who are fired, or at least a couple are fired. And often the case is that they're not bad people. It's not like they didn't try. All the things I say about Joe, he's a good person, he tried hard, but he failed. And like an NFL coach, if you failed to do the job, if you failed to win, in politics, just like in football, you got to have some wins. You can't just lose every battle. And Joe Biden has lost every important battle. And it would take a very special kind of out-of-your-mind optimism to even imagine any victories between now and the midterms. What in the world are they going to accomplish in the next 8-9 months here? Please tell me. I can't imagine. So, yeah, like the NFL coach, we like you. Maybe even the players liked you. You gave it your best shot. But, man, you got to win games. Sorry, it's over. You're gone. Well, I really believe that's where we are with Joe Biden. But if he really cares about America, which I think he does, I keep saying, he's a good guy, he cares. If he really cares about this country, and if he cares about his party. Now, I don't give a damn about the party. I'm not a Democrat. I'm a small d Democrat. I'm not a capital D Democrat by any stretch. Like I say, they have good people in their party, but I'm not a capital D Democrat. But if Joe Biden cares about the Democratic Party, he should stand up with the whole leadership of the party. And they all should say, we're done. This is our promise to the American people. Give us your vote in the 22 midterms. The campaign has begun. And we're announcing today that we're handing over leadership to a new generation. Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. We love you, Nancy. Here's your gold watch. You did a great job. You're going to go down in history as one of the great speakers of all time. But you know what? It's over. You're 81 years old. You've been in your job forever. Just announce it to the American people, more precisely to the American voters, that if you put Democrats back into the majority in November of 2022, when we raise our hands and take the oath in January of 23, and when we name the speaker and all the committee chairs and the whole leadership, it's going to be a whole new game. Steny Hoyer is the Democratic Majority Leader. He's 82 years old and been in his job forever. Jim Clyburn is 81 years old. He's the Democratic Majority Whip, been in his job forever. 71-year-old Chuck Schumer is part of that little press conference too. All you guys, you stand up and say, thank you, we've done it. Because there's a whole new generation waiting. I mentioned Van Hollen, I mentioned Merkley, and then if you really want to go further left, which I do, and I think here's where my bias is going to show, but I honestly believe this is true. I mean, I honestly, objectively think this is true, that if you put up progressives, real progressives, the Squad, Pramila Jayapal, Cori Bush, there's a lot of them now. The Progressive Caucus is up to close to 100 members. The Democratic Party needs to stand up in front of the American people and say, this is the new Democratic Party going forward. And you will win the midterms. Against whoever's, I don't care who they put up on the other side. If you give the American people a choice between real, young, dynamic, progressive Democrats on one side and the crew they've got assembled on the Republican side, are you kidding me? Kevin McCarthy? Mitch McConnell? The new and dominating breed of Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert and Josh Hawley. Come on. I mean, look at the roster over there. Look at the big names. Ted Cruz, Madison Cawthorn, Gomert and Gosar. You give the American people a choice. I honestly believe it's a winning strategy. It's not just because they're my people. I honestly believe this. James Carville can just go suck it. You can't just keep going center, 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 center. An inch a little bit more to the right. You inch that center point a little to the right every time you do that. And that's why after 40 years, the center is now just completely out of whack in Washington. The American people haven't moved. They're still basically a center-left country. And at the risk of repeating myself, the political spectrum as we picture it is so much different here than around the world. The leftiest representatives we have, the two big names, of course, being AOC and Bernie, are centrists anywhere. Put them in Europe, put them in Germany, or put them in the UK or Scandinavia, anywhere else. They're run-of-the-mill centrists. So we have an awfully big correction to do here. This massive, colossal shift to the right has only happened in D.C. It's only happened among the political class, always maneuvering and always strategizing. Just put up the progressives. Republicans are going to call you a socialist anyway. They're going to call you a dangerous communist, no matter who you are. When they call Joe Biden a dangerous communist, what's the point? Go ahead, put up a socialist. So I really think that's where we are. I'm ready to make the call right now. I initially thought, well, maybe you give Joe, another year, give him until after the midterms, see how we do. No, I don't know. I don't think that's true anymore. What I'm thinking right now, it's time. It's really time. The only way you win the midterms is to promise the American people that you're going to change. I mean, really change. You're going to go hard. You're going to go progressive. You're going to put in a whole new leadership team. They'll go with you. I know they will. And if you do that, then I, as the self-proclaimed leader of the opposition, can promise you that when independents, see, I'm the leader of this big army now, I've decided. This army of independents who are going to run for school boards and city councils and for mayors and for Congress, all the way up, every level of government, we're going to have this huge number of independents. I mean, real, true independents running. They'll stand up with you against the Republicans. You can count on some cooperation. Now, we're not going to make any pledges, any promises. We're not going to caucus with you. We're not going to become folded into the Democratic Party. No, we're going to hold our independence. But I'm telling you, you can feel very safe that when you need allies against the Republicans, against the illegitimate fascist wannabe autocratic party, you can count on lefty independents. We're not going to put a capital D next to our names, but you can count on it. So don't be afraid of us. So I'm still telling independents, run, 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 and run. But Democrats, if you want to have any chance in November, this is what you have to do. I mean, there's already talk. There's already a lot of talk about Biden not running in 24. Somebody, I think it was the Washington Post recently, had a whole big article about potential candidates. In fact, here, let's take a look at that. I saved the link. You know, it's the usual crowd, including, of course, Kamala Harris, and I don't think Kamala Harris is the answer. I'm not going to badmouth Kamala Harris, but she is not the answer. Let's see here. Of course, the opposition might very well be the Orange Menace. If not, it's going to be somebody like DeSantis, or it's going to be an off the cliffer. Let's put it that way. We know that for sure. It's going to be an off the cliff style Republican, because that's really all that's left. There are no more Mitt Romneys. So let's see. Who do they mention here? They like Andy Beshear, governor of Kentucky. Amy Klobuchar, of course, who ran before, senator from Minnesota. And they both have definite centrist bona fides. Cory Booker, Sherrod Brown, Pete Buttigieg. Yeah, these are all very centrist candidates. I wouldn't go this way at all. Senator Raphael Warnock, that's an interesting choice. Rapidly becoming a star of the Senate. Of course, newly elected from Georgia. Gretchen Whitmer, nah, come on. It's too many centrist Clinton types. They mentioned Gavin Newsom. Yeah, California governor. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, I suppose. Yeah, I don't see anybody on this list that gets me excited. Now, if you want to go a little left, they mention Ayanna Pressley. But let's see. Now, I guess that's all they're going to mention from the left. Yeah, I don't know who you run, but we can figure that out. I just firmly believe we got to go left, and it can't be Joe. He's failed, and he's old, and can you imagine? Can you imagine him running a campaign? A full-blown campaign? You know what it takes to run for president, right? You've seen it. You've been around a little bit. You've seen this. Try to imagine Joe Biden fulfilling the duties of President of the United States and running a full-blown campaign for re-election. It's almost comical to think of that. So just stand up in front of the American people and say, okay, we see the writing on the wall. This is it. You elected me because you hated the Orange Menace. And we needed to all take a deep breath. And we've done that. But now there's very serious work to do. And don't just hand your endorsement over to Kamala Harris. Don't just assume everybody that she's the next candidate. Just make it a wide open primary. Let everybody jump in. So that's my advice to the Democratic Party. Now my advice to the American people, go left. You have to go left. You just have to go left. You can't continue this drift, this center that keeps floating to the right and keeps enabling the crazies. Because then you just keep getting more of what we're getting. Have the Republicans not shown their hand clearly enough to you? Election officials in Texas have already rejected hundreds of ballot applications under the state's new voting restriction law. Headline from the Post. Yeah, you think hundreds of ballot applications are somehow nefarious or forged or fake or... No, but hundreds have been rejected. Ballot applications. Which they never could have done without the new law. So these are your Republicans. In Virginia, I just mentioned Youngkin. He's got this ridiculous, banning CRT and all that total bullshit. This was kind of funny, reading from The Hill. A new measure aimed at eliminating critical race theory in Virginia schools proposes teaching students about key documents in American history, including a debate between President Abraham Lincoln and the abolitionist Frederick Douglass. Okay. Well, of course, Frederick Douglass never debated Abraham Lincoln. They're thinking of Stephen Douglas. the famous debates, Lincoln-Douglas debates, for a seat in the Senate in 1858. So the people writing these bills, yeah, they know exactly what they're talking about. Yeah, the famous Lincoln-Frederick Douglass debates. Lord mercy. Yeah, is this what you want? This is what the American people want? They want Rand Paul? Yeah, he represents the American people? Sure. He's made the news twice recently. The big headline that he canceled his DirecTV subscription because they dropped One American News. You familiar with One American News? It's like Fox on steroids. It's just complete off-the-cliff right-wing conspiracy theory, QAnon garbage. One American News is to Fox as Fox is to CNN. And so DirecTV dropped them from their lineup. And the funny thing is, it wasn't even a big political move. DirecTV is dropping a whole lot of networks, all the smaller networks from there. It was just kind of a realignment. But Rand Paul got all up in arms. And this was only a couple days or a couple weeks after he made this big announcement that he's exiting from YouTube. Oh, he's going to eliminate his YouTube channel. Oh, that's too bad. See you, Rand Paul. Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. Who cares? Oh, social media, YouTube, left-wing propaganda. I'm taking my business. Oh no, what would we do without you, Rand Paul? Here's another one. I forget, was this my state? Is this Wisconsin? One state legislature. Yeah, I think it's Wisconsin. Now, the good news here, of course, is we have a Democratic governor who's going to veto this stuff. At least we do for now. He's up for re-election. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, one of their latest little games, they're, of course, enemies of unemployment. They never want to give anybody any unemployment. They certainly didn't want to give any unemployment regarding COVID. They were always against that. But now they've introduced legislation that would make eligibility easier, that would loosen the requirements for anyone unemployed because they refuse to get vaccinated. So they want to give unemployment, they want to make unemployment easier for anti-vaxxers. This is how out of touch and off the cliff Republicans are. So that's where we are. And I'm calling it. I'm calling my shot. Joe Biden and the entire Democratic leadership, Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Steny Hoyer, all of you, stand up and tell the American people, this is our last dance. We're going to give it our best. We're going to finish strong. We're going to fight like hell for you. But our promise to you is that if you put us back in the majority, you're going to have a whole new leadership team of young, dynamic progressives. You can even name them. You can bring them up on stage with you if you want to go so far as to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, Pramila Jayapal, our new Speaker of the House, if you put us back. She'd be a good one. Yeah, I'm making the call today. This is what you do. This is what you ought to do. Because we're just screwed. And Democrats, capital D Democrats, okay, you tried, you failed. You've absolutely failed. And so you just need to be gone now. Sorry. So there it is. Let me know what you think. I love you. I'm Charles Purcell.